Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 72. It's a show about Linux, guys, and I thank you for joining us. And if you never heard of Linux or never tried Linux or you're scared of Linux, don't worry. This show is for you. If you're into Linux and you use Linux and you love Linux, don't worry. This show is for you too. What I'm trying to say, it's for everybody, and we try to just dish out a bunch of Linux goodness and news and software and make everybody happy and let you just raise your awareness of Linux and what it could do for you and your life. And what we do is have the man do that. When I say the man, I'm talking about the door-to-door geek, Steve McLaughlin from doortodoorgeek.com. What's up, Door?
Hey, Steve. I'll also add, even if you don't know how to spell Linux, I like to believe this show is for you.
Yeah, I forgot to say that. I should have. I agree. And, well, there's so many. I mean, Linux can be a bit daunting for people. I mean, does it still have, who are we talking about this with, that it still has that stigma of being the command line language, that confusing, isn't that what we see on the movies where there's a bunch of lines of code? Was it you tell me that, or Tracy? I can't remember.
Well, I do believe that. I believe there's a hard gap of people that know what Linux is, but they don't really know what it's about. But then you have these people who are over, let's say, the age of 38 or 40 that think it's a long gray beard guy who lives in his mom's basement kind of thing.
Right.
And then you get the young kid that believes it's a super elite hacker thing that's too complex for normal people to use.
Yeah. You know, again, I have to admit, if it wasn't for this show, I wouldn't know a fraction. I wouldn't even have probably a smidge of interest as much as I do now about Linux. And it's really amazing how much you want to learn the language and you want to use it and you want to try things in it just by knowing a couple little nuggets. And that's what we teach here. And I appreciate that. I thank you for that, Dor.
Oh, no problem. I will slightly agree with something Jonathan said. I think he said on the show last week, but I don't know if it was after the show or what. Just knowing the basics of another operating system like Linux will make you understand more how Windows works. I know that might not make a lot of sense. Think of it as cakes. We're going to start with cakes. I know, I love cake. If you only ever see and eat one kind of cake, then you honestly cannot fully appreciate everything that goes into that cake.
Right.
If you then say, well, today, let's try German chocolate, and the texture and the consistency and the sweetness and the flavor are all different, which should make you understand more that first cake and why, and like what made it to the, how you like it kind of thing.
Right.
Because Jonathan said I should get a Mac, which I told him I could never afford a Mac. So then he said we should start a Kickstarter to get me a Mac.
So you could taste the Mac cake.
Well, and here's the thing. There's no doubt in my mind, if I would use a Mac for any length of time, I would be more comfortable in Linux and Windows.
Sure.
Because I would have a greater detailed understanding of the philosophies they used and how these guys do it different.
Right.
And then I think I would have a better understanding of which is better for this task, what's better for that task, what's better for this kind of task. But I don't have, $1,000 just sitting around.
You got to use one, Door. You got to use one. The hardware is it's freaking awesome. It really is nice. It's just sweet, nice. I mean, I was in Best Buy today. I was playing with a bunch of laptops, and Samsung's coming out with some Ultrabooks, and Toshiba has one and stuff. I'm playing with them, and I'm like, pretty cool. The screens are crappy on them and everything. Anyway, I went over to the Macs, and I just played with a MacBook Air, and it's just like butter. The hardware is butter in comparison. It really is. So, I remember the first time I started using the Mac, and I enjoyed it. I said, this is something different. I'm glad I learned this. I got rid of the whole think of I can't fit another operating system into my brain. I'm going to forget everything I know on Windows. That's BS. It's just learn them all. Just learn them all. I'm definitely not a Mac fanboy, but I'm just saying learn them all. Learn Linux, Mac, and Windows, and you just opened up so many more doors for yourself.
Yeah. And to be honest, I believe I would really be fascinated in love with like the Mac Air form factor hardware platform. But when it comes to laptops, I mean, I've had all a bunch of different sizes. I almost am you utilitarian when it comes to laptops, to where I hate saying it because I know SMD doesn't listen to this show, Steve D. I kind of like ThinkPads, which I know puts me, I know, but that's okay.
No, you know what? I'm telling you, and I have nothing against the OSs, but the hardware, it's like, do you like driving nice cars? Do you like driving a fancy car? Like, do you ever sit in like a
Yeah, but I
Porsche,
kill them.
Yeah, well, that's what it's like. It's the hardware. It's just smooth and fun to play with.
Yeah, I had a Mustang. It was already like 8, 9 years old. Within 3 months, I needed new tires, and 6 months, I needed new clutch. Because the light would go green, and I would go.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll see what you could do to a Mac. But I agree. We need to get one in your hands. Not to force you to use it, just to have to use and try and play with.
I will admit, I would like to experience it, but I would, honestly, the whole time I would feel dirty. But
still,
I know, but I have to digress now.
Yeah. Well, let me just say, Tracy in the chat room said the Mac keyboards suck if you're a touch typist, and I'm not a touch typist, so I can't vouch for that. So.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I mean, for like 3 letters of my name, I am, but not for much more.
Okay. All right. What do we got today?
Okay, this is the basic. This is not computer related. This is one of the things I feel like Linux extremely thrives in and is extremely good at is community type thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. For instance, I am not unique in the Linux world when it comes to this. Someone asks me a question, I try to answer them. I try to be helpful. I try to be polite. I try to give them on the verge of too much information back when they ask a question. That's not uncommon in the Linux world. There used to be this mentality, RTFM, go read the manual, stupid kind of attitude. That really has not existed from what I can tell for over 5 years. The myth kind of sits around still a little bit longer, but it really doesn't exist. What I want to really encourage people to do is to just show a little bit of love. First, I got to say, I will thank everyone who went to podnutz.com/deals and supported myself and Steve with the purchase of the video series. Let me just say, you made my holiday, because now my wedding anniversary just passed. It's going to be a little bit late, but I'm going to be able to buy my wife something nice.
Nice.
She deserves it. She works herself to the bone.
What, are you going to get her, like a audio interface for podcasting, or?
Yes, exactly. Well, she really loves her old style Kindle. She ain't getting no Kindle Fire. She really loves coffee. I got her a really nice single serve coffee maker for Christmas. It's like the K-cup stuff.
Yeah.
But not a K-cup. You can use your own coffee.
Oh, sweet.
Coffee grounds, and the little cup. You don't need any paper.
Yeah.
Filters. There's like a mesh in there.
Yeah,
put it. You just clean it. It's done. She's
that's
loving that.
Sweet.
So I'm want to get her, honestly, something Harry Potter related, because she's a Potter fanatic. And she's a book lover, so I was going to give her probably at least $50 on Amazon to go out and buy some books.
See, that's the thing. A Harry Potter lover and a book lover, that's easy to buy for. A geek who likes electronics, that's expensive, man.
Well, I know, but I told my cousin who didn't listen to me, all you got to do is go to, I can't remember the name of the site now, like geeks.com, is it? And just look at their TV shirt. Look at their tea shirts, and just randomly pick a couple tees. They're all good as long as they're not girl tees.
Yeah, right. You mean like gifts for a geek?
Yes, because that's the easiest, like, barrier of entry, the lowest common denominator. We all like t-shirts.
Yeah.
If it's Doctor Who, some people might not like it. If you give it to Tracy, he'll giggle like a little girl. Or to myself, because Doctor Who's cool. But it's not hard. T-shirts, really easy. Just get them big.
Good call.
I know she didn't do that. but that's okay. Okay. What I really want to ask people to do, I got to get to the point of this, Steve. Okay. If you are on Windows, if your significant other is still on Windows, if your child or parent is still on Windows, your brother or sister is still on Windows, or your friend is on Windows, next time you're in front of their computer, say, hey, can you have iTunes, right? Do you mind if I go and rate a show real quick? And just hop on iTunes and show the Podnutz family some love. I'll personally say Lalo, Nunez, and Matt, Podnutz Pro, go give them a good rating. They're both hell of a nice guys, both of them. They both will help you to the world stop spinning kind of thing. And I like them both. They just both seem, they've been very straight with me, very helpful when I needed help.
Totally. And vote for us.
Well, yeah.
Here.
I mean, that goes without saying, but I don't want to say it.
I will. So vote for us, please.
Okay. And I'll also say, if you like Timster at all, Tech Chat Show, first go check out the podcast, which you should have already done by now. But 2, give them a positive rating in iTunes. They're really good people. They're working hard.
Sure.
Geeksters.tv, Mitch, Wilbur Bear, PC Freddy, Jason, really nice guys, having fun while they podcast, which is very important, I believe. Do a really good job. And then the Unbootables, that guy Chris, Liam, Steve D, Eric Salse, give some people some positive ratings on iTunes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he's right. Even if you don't use iTunes, that's where a lot of people find podcasts. So if and they give definitely some weight to ratings. So if you give them 5 stars, it will help definitely. So do it, suck it up. You know what I mean? Like suck it up and load iTunes if you don't have it, and just review it and then delete it. Not the
Right.
review, the iTunes.
Right. And if you don't have a Windows computer sitting around, and nobody you know has a Windows computer anywhere, at least go to something like Podcast Alley.
Yeah.
But I would just ask, if you go to Podcast Alley, rate twice as many things as you were going to rate on iTunes, because you need to, because it's Podcast Alley.
Okay.
Because they're not as big.
Give some love.
So just give a little bit of love, because to be honest, not being arrogant, every time I do this show, every time I get an email, every time I get a tweet, every time I get a Google Plus, every time I get a forum PN, every time I get a forum posting, that's the same amount of positive attitude I try to give those people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I want to be open arms and welcome and just help them out.
Sounds good. I agree.
Okay. The first link, I got to say, I actually wanted to talk about last week. Last week went a little long, so I didn't have time to talk about it, which is on one case good. Okay. It's a piece of software that I found. I don't know how I found it, but I know I'm pretty sure I found it, and then I sent it to Tracy Holtz, who I think I could hear squealing from here as soon as he saw it. It's a piece of software called Brew Target. What it is, it's think of it as like your card catalog or your like CD collection software, where you can easily look at, search, filter, index, print, and share recipes that you use to make brews, ales, beers, stouts, wits. I mean, all kinds of different beverages. Here's the one note, okay? One of the most popular pieces of software out there right now for this kind of task is called Beersmith, okay? The product is so popular, on their website, they have their own blog and podcast, okay? So they have a lot of traffic, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
You can right now go get a 21-day free trial of their software, or you can purchase their Beersmith 2, which just means when Beersmith 3 comes out, you're going to have to buy the next one. That can only be ran on Windows 7, XP, Vista, and Mac. not on Linux. Okay. Brew Target can be ran on